the next presenter I was saying, was waiting for the recording to start it again, Malungo Germano, who is from Angola, is doing a doctorate degree in humanities and human rights. I hope Malungo is fairly ready around, and to everybody from the deepest of my heart, I love you all. Thank you very much for joining us for this AIU Symposium. It's very unfortunate that I personally am obligated to leave, but of course, as I'm driving and after my presentation, I will be joining you back for the rest of this AIU Symposium. Love you all. Thank you very much, and God bless you very immensely. Bye-bye now. Malungo Germano. Oh, your microphone is off, Malungo.
Okay, switch on and on.
I just turned it on.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Very well.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Valsi.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And Malungo Germano.
Yes, I'm there. Firstly, I thank God for this privilege that I have to be here with you. I thank also our university, AIU, to select me to be a presenter today. And finally, I thank all of you for the time that you are spending to be connected so that we have this symposium. This afternoon or this morning for those who are in USA, afternoon for those who are in Africa, that I would like to share with you my experience on my personal exponential growth as human rights professional. What I will say, I think it's the practical side of the principle that we learned in the first and second intervention that we have today. I will share my experience on my personal exponential growth as a human rights professional. As I say that, I consider it as a practical side because the principle were taught in the first and second presentation. I would like to have the first slide, please.
1 second. Where are we? Where is your presentation? Here it is. There.
Yes, as I say, I'm Malungo Germano. I'm from Angola, and in the final phase of PhD program in humanity and human rights that I will share with you my experience on my personal exponential growth as a human rights professional. The first things that we can go to the following slide. The first things I think that we are going to see is the definition of personal exponential growth. To understand well the personal exponential growth, I would like to give some explanation of the word which form personal exponential growth. When we say, firstly, something is personal, that we want to mean that something is private or aimed at one person. It's your own. That this has to call our attention on the individual responsibility for our exponential growth. The second word we have here is exponential. It means increasing or growing very fast. This is the meaning of this word. And growth, as we know, is an increase in the success of a business. In general, personal exponential growth refers to the very fast self-improvement, increasing or growing of your skill, knowledge, career, personal quality, life's goal, and outlook. I would like also to repeat the definition that I learned from Mr. Franklin in the beginning of this symposium. He said that a personal exponential growth, it is the increase in number or size at a constantly growing rate. That constantly growing rate is not something that we do today and we stop. That's a constantly growing rate. Nowadays, everybody wants to improve in some aspect of life. We can go to the following slide. As I said that nowadays, everybody wants to grow up, to improve in certain category of life. But we have to know that we seek, when we are looking for a personal exponential growth, when we seek to better ourselves. This case involves a personal improvement in our, can involve our a personal improvement. This can be in formal education, maturity, profession, career success, marital relationship, or personal quality, or some aspect of our life that we want to improve. The desire for personal exponential growth brings our work, learning, or any activity we perform from good to great. The personal exponential growth, it's a process that increases quality over time. That if we want to increase the quality in some aspect of our life, we have to go to look for a personal exponential growth in that category. The following slide, please. As I say that nowadays, many people want to grow or improve faster in some aspect of their life. They want to have their personal quality highly valued in career success, but the big challenge is how to reach this personal exponential growth. If we can see in the world of business, we see that the companies are looking to have more products, to produce more, to change the quality of the product. And if you go to the college, school, university, and students want also to grow up, that if many people want the success, many people want to improve, but the problem, the big challenge, how to reach this exponential growth. What step do we need to make? This is the problem. What action do we need to take? This is the problem, the big challenge. But I think for most of us who took the opportunity to participate in this symposium, it's not longer a problem for us because the first and the second intervention gave us all principles that we can apply to grow personally in our life. The following slide, please. I'm going to share with you some aspects to consider for our personal improvement. We need firstly to identify the aspects of our life that need improvement. That if we need to grow up exponentially, the first thing is to identify the aspects of our life that need improvement. And to identify the aspect of our life that need improvement can be by ourselves, or by those who are living with us, can be a teacher, someone who knows you well, can help you to identify where you are weak, where you need the improvement. And sometimes in our life, we don't pay attention sometimes in our weakness, that you don't know how to turn your weakness in strength because you don't pay attention that what you do or your way of living or one aspect of your living is a weakness. Sometimes we don't pay attention. As one African proverb used to say that the men who are drinking sometimes doesn't recognize that he is overdrunk. Other people can recognize, no, you are overdrunk, you have to stop. This is also in our life. Sometimes it's difficult ourselves to discover our weakness. And if you don't discover your weakness, never you will do something so that you improve. That's what I say, that the first thing is to identify the aspect of our life that need improvement. The second point is that to set a clear and precise goal that you want to reach. You set a precise, clear goal that my weakness is this. Then I want to reach this level. I want to overcome this weakness. I need the strength in this aspect of my life. That you set your goal. The goal has to be clear and precise. You have to avoid ambiguity in your goal. Yes, to be precise. And the other things that I learned today, I think in the first or second presentation, that this exponential growth is a process and is progressive, and also is a constant progress, a constant process. That is not something we do today and tomorrow we stop. We have to be determined to follow the goal till that we reach the objective that we need. The other aspect, we have to focus on our objective. To focus on our objective, that we have to be focused on the objective or the goal that we set ourselves. And we have to be concerned about the exponential improvement we need. To be concerned, it's not mean to be anxious. It's not means to be worried. In this context, to be concerned is means to be involved, to be determined, resolved to reach this goal. That we set the goal and you cannot let it like this, that we have to work on this goal. And finally, we need to take the appropriate action which can bring us to the final destination. That we cannot stay like this, we make a goal, then we cross our end. But we have to take action which can bring us to the final destination. It's, for example, I can decide today, I want to go to New York. I will not cross my hand waiting that the plane comes at my house to bring me to New York. I have to make action. What action I have to do? That I have to think, I have a visa, I have a passport, I have to buy the ticket, I have to put aside the money that I will use for the hotel, for the time that I will be in New York. This is the action that we cannot make set a goal without to make action. The following slide. In the following slides, I will try to share with you how I apply those principles to reach my goal as human rights professional. I started my career in 1998 as clerk in the Human Rights Division of the UN mission in Angola. My responsibility was to support the office in the administrative and logistic work. I used to receive and forward reports of human rights violation from sub-office and logistic support, travel arrangement, human rights training, make copy of material for the human rights training, and take care of the human rights library. The following slides and please, the following slides. Although I was working as a clerk, but I was in the middle of international human rights professionals. I did not have any knowledge of human rights in that time. After 1 month, I started to feel the desire to improve my professional career. I have two choices to make. I was working as clerk to improve my career as clerk or to improve my career as human rights professional. I checked the two options. I found that it was more advantageous to be a human rights profession than to stay there working as a clerk. Please, the following slide. And I decided to choose human rights professional as my goal to become a human rights professional. In that time, I have only the secondary school diploma in biology and chemistry. I didn't have any knowledge in human rights. I established my personal growth. What I wanted to achieve. My goal was to exponentially grow as human rights professional. The second step, I associated God and I asked him to strengthen me to reach my goal. I put in my mind Philippians 4:30, which this verse says that I can all things through Christ which strengthens me. I put it in my mind. I was meditating this verse, and this gave me the strength to face this challenge. I trusted that God would guide me in this challenge. I had faith. I pictured myself reaching my goal. I was fully convinced that God is able to perform all that he promised for his beloved. The following slide, please. The following slide, please.
Yes, this is the following.
The first step that, although I say that I pray, I believe God to strengthen me so that I reach my goal, but I didn't cross my head without to take any action. I did not limit my endeavor in prayer, faith, and self-vision as human rights professional. But I had also taken action which could help me to grow exponentially. As the Bible says, faith without action is useless. That to reach my goal, I should take action. Below are the action that I took. The first action that I took, it was reading. learning from specialists, and attending human rights training. Because I realized that I need knowledge of human rights. I cannot be a professional in human rights without knowledge. Then I decide to make this first action, first reading. I put reading as a priority in my life. As I was working in the library, my office was the library, in other side, full of books, video, all material, all human rights material. Whenever I'm free, I take a book, I start to read, or I take a video, something that I can learn human rights. This helped me to increase in terms of knowledge. The following slide, please. As I said, reading is a process of recognizing written or printed words and understanding the meaning is an important tool to acquire knowledge. To acquire human rights knowledge, I decided to focus on reading human rights material. I put it among my priorities. I understood that without knowledge of human rights, I cannot reach my goal. The following slides. The other action that I took, it was learning from others. I took the advantage to learn from human rights professionals. Working in the environment of international human rights professionals, I took this advantage of learning from their experience. I asked questions all times and created debate to push them to share their experience with me. Working in the human rights environment, I learned from people who already reached exponential growth in human rights. This helped me to grow and to follow their step. I was observing them when they are talking or discussing on human rights. I always pay my attention to learn something from them. And I ask several questions so that to push them to speak. And when they speak, I cut something. If I don't understand, I can ask them. And when I go to read books, it becomes very easy for me because some topic I already listened through a conversation with specialists in human rights. The following slide, please. Human beings are also library. That we have to know that human beings are also library. As Ampateba, a Malian writer, said, whenever an old man dies, it's as though a library were burning down. This is a concept, an African concept, but this can work everywhere. That in Africa, we consider old men as someone we have a lot of knowledge. And when an old man died, that is a library burning down. Human beings are also library, since we can learn from them. In the same way we learn from books. Someone who spent 1 week to read a book can impart the knowledge acquired in 1 hour to other. You see the benefits that we have? That someone will read a book, he spend time to read a book or to make research, but he can summarize for you what he read. You see, human beings are also library that I learned a lot from people. That it was a strategy in my life. Even when I was writing my thesis, dissertation of master I use to go to discuss with people. Sometimes you have a subject which is very difficult. It can tell to you that go to the library, see the book, see this book, page 55, you will find the information that you need. You see that in short time, you have great information that you could spend maybe 2 weeks reading one book. Human beings are also library. I learned a lot from human beings. That we can learn from others. This just requires to be meek. If you are meek, you can learn from others. You have to be receptive, coachable, it's available to receive knowledge from others. You pay attention when other specialists are speaking. When those who know are teaching, you have to pay attention. Please, the following page. The other strategies that I use or action that I took was attending human rights training. In addition, focusing on reading and learning from others, I also focus on attending human rights training and a related activity. In that time, I was working in the United Nations, that I have this privilege when there is an NGO or UN agency organizing training, we were always invited to take part. I did my best to take part to trainings, and when I go to the training, I have to bring a book and a pen to write. This was my strategy because I was looking for knowledge. I didn't limit to listen, that I'm listening and I'm writing. This helped me to improve in terms of knowledge. The following slide, learning, I understood that learning was required for my improvement. In that time in Angola, we didn't have any school or college to learn human rights. The only way was to be trained by NGOs. In the early 90s, Angola changed its political system, ending with communist system and adopting the capitalist one. And in that time, human rights started to be implemented, and many civil and political rights were recognized in the Angolan constitution. This fact opened doors so that many NGOs come to Angola to implement to promote human rights. That's fruits the work of those NGOs that we managed to learn human rights. We didn't have any college or school where you could learn some things on human rights. The only opportunity was to learn from a workshop, seminary organized by NGOs and UN agencies. The following page, please. The following NGOs contributed a lot for the promotion of human rights and democracy in Angola. The American NGO and the NDI, National Democracy Institute. This NGO played a noteworthy role on the capacity building and on the divulgation of democracy principles among the Angolan civil society. The other NGOs will play an important role in the promotion of human rights was World Learning. These NGOs did a good job in Angola that we cannot talk today or we cannot write the history of Angola without to mention world learning. Most of activists, Angolan activists that you know today, they are from world learning. Fernando Macedo, Padre Pio, Rafael Mark, they start to learn human rights from world learning. Although today we have many people, we become PhD, they are playing great role in the country, but they start to learn basic knowledge. They got it from world learning. The following page, please. As I said that we cannot write the history of human rights in Angola without mentioning American NGO World Learning. They did a good job. Is from this ONG that I got basic knowledge in human rights, which helped me to improve the quality of my job. After 1 year, I was called to work as human rights assistant. The following page.
Then.
And that after 1 year of work as clerk in the United Nations, I was called to work as human rights assistant, assisting an international human rights officer in the implementation of human rights projects in the community. Then I learned more things, work with a professional in human rights. The following slide. In the seeking of knowledge, I did not look only at national level. I had also the opportunity to attend training at international level. In June 2000, I attended an intensive training 1 month on the international human rights law in the University John Abbott, Montreal, Canada. It was organized by the Canadian Human Rights Foundation. More than 50 countries were represented in this training. I had the privilege of talking to people on the human rights situation on the world, share my experience to them. I learned also from their experience. This was for me also a way to improve exponentially my knowledge in human rights. The following. In May 2001, I attended a 2-week training on human rights in Brazil, São Paulo University. It also was a good opportunity to meet and listen to people coming from various cultures speaking about human rights. This helped me to have a clear picture of the notion of human rights evolve over the world. I learned from many people in that training, besides the program that was set for us, but talking to other people, learning from the experience helped me to improve my knowledge. The following slide, please. The following slide, please. I did not limit my seeking of knowledge to the informal education. I also attended the university. I said that when I start, I had only the secondary school or high school. I didn't have a university degree, but as I was in the looking of the knowledge so that I become a human rights professional, that a university training was required. Then, although many difficulty in that time in Angola to have a place in the university, but I managed to be trained in the training college of Agostinho Neto here in Angola, that in education science. In 2008-2009, I did master in international human rights law in France, Institut des droits de l'homme, Université de Lyon. That's where I got a great knowledge of human rights. That learning human rights from seminary, workshop, from experience is different to learn human rights in the university. I found this difference because when I learned in deep the philosophy of human rights and the history of human rights, I understand better how human rights developed from the antiquity to the contemporary time. The second page, please. The following page, please. And in 2009-2010, I did a master degree, Master 2, in international and European study, specialty with a specialty of international security and defense in the University Pierre Mendès, Grenoble, France. In 2011-2012, I got a master degree in another master degree in international relations and geopolitics in the University of Toulouse. And 2012-2013, I have a university diploma in international humanitarian law, University of Nice, Antipolis, France. The following page. Now I'm at AIU, a PhD program since 2019 till now. I'm in the final phase of the PhD program in humanity and human rights. I continue to grow exponentially with AIU. Its approach, self-education, allowed me to learn myself many things in short time through reading and searching information to perform the assignments. That I learned many things. This helped me to improve. Sometimes the knowledge acquired was beyond what it was expected for the assignment. Responding to an assignment, I have to make research, but sometimes I got more knowledge that I needed for this assignment. I thank AIU for this methodology. The following page. Human rights continue to be my concern. Even now that I'm jobless, I continue to think about human rights. Whenever I think about a human project, I inform friends who are waiting to see the possibility of the implementation. And whenever I write, I refer always to human rights. In my master in international study, my final dissertation was the role of NGO in the protection of indigenous people. That I talk about human rights. In my master in international relations, I work on the human security, that the human security, to improve the human security by the effectivity of human rights and democracy. That I continue to think about human rights. My final dissertation for my PhD degree is improving human rights protection in sub-Saharan Africa by strengthening justice. That I'm always in human rights. I improved that I get knowledge. I was recognized as a human rights professional. I work with the United Nations. I work with Search for Common Ground. I work with the Lutheran World Federation that's still working or thinking on human rights. I reached my goal, and this symposium give me more strength to continue to grow up in human rights. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Malungo Germano.
Yes.
Let's go ahead to your questions now. We have the first one up here is Bernardo Kinyango. Please go ahead with your question, comment.
Yes, I'm available.
I'm Bernardo Kinjango. I'm also talking from Angola. Yes, I have just started doing my master's in business administration and finance management. So actually, I don't have question. I wanted to do some contribution beside on those presentation I had before. And I like your presentation. All of them have the same line. The first one is exponential person growth. Then the second is a person growth. Then you are talking about exponential growth in human rights. My concern on this presentation is about a place. Like I will bring here three facts that can influence a person to grow. I will bring here example like environment. Environment are two situations, a good environment and a bad environment. For example, today the world is going through situation between Russia and Ukraine. And as Angolan, we have passed through that experience. If you are born in an environment where there is war, for person growth, it is a challenge. It can be difficult. Like another example we are going through between the world is COVID-19 disease. Even when you are so much talented, you have learned a lot, but between this factor, war, disease, you can't grow. And another situation I can bring here, natural calamities. Natural calamities. It also brings the situation that can avoid the individual to have that person growth. Like for other side, those who were born in a good environment where there is peace, there is good health, there is good technology. These factors make them or influence them to grow fast.
Yes.
Example that I will give here, if you analyze people who are born like in America, are born in Europe, and those who are born in Africa, because of technology, like we have difficulty here in Africa to meet technology, a good technology. That's why always we need to link universities outside, so may we gain more. Those who are born like in Africa, you see them in school when they are big, when they are grown up. But those who are born in America, like in Europe, you meet them in school at the 25, 30 years, they are doctors. So having a personal growth doesn't only depend on how you are strong or on how much you do things. And another fact I can bring here is what you did present, the human right. Like when the individual has not that capacity in respecting human right, it can also avoid him to grow. Because before the environment, people will take him as a criminal person. And they will look always, or all means, to step down this person. Because it's a factor that make everyone to be disturbed. Like now, as we can see now, United Nations is fighting to solve the problem that we have between Ukraine and between Russia. And the whole world is involved because you can't grow alone in the world. No. Every human being has a country, has a society where he have connected himself. Like I have come before AUA. Why? Looking for technology, looking for development. So when we talk about personal growth, there is key factors that influence a person to grow. You can't just grow yourself alone, having effort. Like there is another situation, person technology or person methods. How you do things in between your environment and the others, it also can help you. Like there is another factor that also can influence a person's background. Are people who come from a very difficult background, like as Angolan. We have come from a very hard background. Until we have gotten here, we have changed that political situation to come to accept some new ideas, like as you have taught about the human right, how has reached in Angola. It has gotten Angola with a very, very strong fight until we have gotten on the stage of some democracy in Angola. And like also person conditions. Those who have condition, have resource, these people can grow fast. Even when they are people, they have not that desire in learning, but the conditions can take them somewhere. And the last thing is the human right. Respecting human right, it takes to the person development growth. Those are my contribution I wanted to bring on this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello, let's go to the next, Forbes Canoguire.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, everybody? Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I think first let me thank Malungo for that very good presentation. It's unfortunate that I missed the first presentations, maybe because of some commitments, but I really enjoyed the presentation by Malungo. It actually helped me to unlock some of the issues that I had were being asked just after the first presentations, even though I didn't manage to get them. So I think what has come out clear is the issue of the focus, which we've actually been talking. Some were saying, are you able to achieve exponential growth? I think by listening to the presentation, I've realized that if you have the focus and determination, you can be there. And also the issue of the global village in which we are living nowadays. I think we all understand that we are no longer an isolated country anywhere in the world. We are now living in a global village, and access to information is at the click of a button. And all those are some factors that we can take advantage of. And I'm happy from the analysis Malungo has done. Is just a reason from somebody right at the bottom and is now right at the top through self-determination, which I think is also possible for us. We also want to appreciate the presence of some institutions. Of course, like AIU, there are some programs, now they've tailor-made the programs for us so that we can even be able to exponentially grow, regardless of the circumstances surrounding our environments, things like that. I just want to comment what Malungo said, and it has answered most of the questions that I had from the previous speakers. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next question. EDC Sierra.
Doctorate of Education. I appreciate the presentation, and I have a question. How national calamities and misery could be mothers of exponential growth? How natural calamities and misery could be mothers of exponential growth? How natural calamities, misery, misère could be mothers of exponential growth? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, can I answer this question?
Yeah. For example, the case of Rwanda. It was a big war in this country, but at the end, it's an exponential growth.
Yes.
How can you explain this situation? Thank you.
Yes, I can answer this question in the following way. For example, here in Rwanda, in Angola, in some provinces, we have some serious problem of natural calamity. And if there are children who cannot go to school because of the natural calamity, even someone can decide to grow exponentially for his study, but the calamity natural can be a big obstacle because the school is not functioning or can delay this growing. I don't know if I'm clear at this point. That can be an obstacle. But as someone say, I read something here, someone say that exponential growth can delay, but we have to be focused to stand till that we will reach it. But this can be delayed or can have obstacle where there is natural calamity. I don't say for all aspects, but the example that I give is for education. We saw children, they cannot study, they are there 5, 6 years without to go to school because of the natural calamity. There is no, it's not raining, and food is very difficult. Sometimes they have to move from one place to another place to see if they can find good condition. All those situations can delay the exponential growth.
Okay, thank you. But I would like to say, as the case in Africa, I think natural calamities could be the starting point of the development of an exponential growth. As we suffer, we can fix some objective and try to look for allies and means, strategies, develop our education and succeed to overcome this situation. That's why I said that it could be, I don't know, a way for development for African and for individuals.
Yes.
I don't know if I can talk. I think when we talk about a natural calamity, it depends the level how it has taken. You see, there are calamities. It brings the big devastations, like city even are getting destroyed. Think that you have built it like in 10 years and it is being destroyed in one day. You know how much resource you have to recover those situations. Like here in Kunen in Angola, the rivers has dried. If you have an industry that side, how you will do? You have no water for production, have no money for building the water. How do you do that? And then maybe now you have to move from that city to another city. You are delaying. So natural calamity depend of the level, maybe just rain. Like imagine a wet cake. It depends of the level. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, I agree with you, Bernardo. Here in Brazil, we have a great problem with, in this case of natural calamities as well. In the last month, in February, in the city of Petrópolis, I don't know if you have been aware about it in the news, we had so many floods and landslides, so many neighborhoods was over, and the level of the calamity is an important thing. If it is small, maybe it can help the people to excel their dreams. But sometimes we lost so many lives, so many buildings, so many neighborhoods that it makes difficult to we excel what we are dreaming. So I really agree with you. Thank you.
Okay. Also, I would like to, please, I would like to say that in Africa, we have a lot of resources like waters, fields, trees, but the exponential growth is not certain for all Africans. So I think there is something under which doesn't go properly. I mean, education. Education could be the engine of exponential growth. So it depends on the situation, and the basis of exponential growth is a real education. That's why I have chosen AIU for my doctoral studies, so as to be fluent in English, so as to improve my culture, but also to have a critical thinking about my development. Thank you.
Let's move on to Alhije Brima. Do you have a question?
Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert. Sorry, I missed the. Hello, am I loud?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good. As I want to thank previous speakers, Of course, I missed the first presentation and only managed to catch up with the last presentation. As I said in my last February thesis monthly report, that if you can see the background where I am, I'm in the office. We're overwhelmed with work. I work for teachers and one of the most remote districts in Sierra Leone, Bond District. Doing my PhD in humanities with AIU. Yes, on the topic exponential growth, as colleagues before me have said, exponential growth depends on the circumstance, the situation, and the prevailing situation as at that time. Let me take Sierra Leone, for example. In 1991, we went to school with, I was in school with a lot of other colleagues until the outbreak of the 11 years civil war in 1991. That carnage, that 11-year civil war led to a lot of atrocities, to a point that a lot of other colleagues were not able, after the war, when the war ended in 2002, to be able to catch up. Following up from what other colleagues have said, the situation was no longer ripe enough. Some were not financially strong. There was no support. They could not be able, they were not able to be able to attend again and continue their education. Another example is when I was working with the Anti-Corruption Commission in Pujon District, another remote district. I was working with my immediate supervisor, who was the commissioner. I started doing a course with the University of London. I applied for LLB, University of London. But University of London is not like AIU. They are not 100% online. They are not doing a 100% online course. So other colleagues at a point envied what I was doing. So what happened? They have to say, most times I have to leave my work location to come to the capital, Freetown, to an institution which was doing teaching for University of London. And this came to the attention of my supervisor. They have to stop me from doing that course, wherein I've spent at that time huge amounts of money. So I was unable, though I wanted to be a lawyer, but I was unable to achieve my dream at that time. Up to the point, to this time, when I'm now working with the Teaching Service Commission, and I went online, I came across the Atlantic International University, and I decided to make a try also. I realized that Atlantic International University is 100% an online university, wherein you can even be in the most remote community and be able to pursue your dream. But the point I want to make is that exponential growth, as other colleagues have said, will depend on the circumstance and the prevailing situation as at that time. Say if I was not able to persevere up to this point, though I was not able to actualize my dream to become a lawyer, but to a point now, I'm a bit happy with Atlantic International University. I'm at the phase 3 of pursuing my PhD degree. So I want to thank Atlantic International University for providing me this opportunity to actualize my dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alhiji. Let's go on to Elijah Jumbo. Let me ask you to.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Am I heard?
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Let me thank you first for being the first joiner into this symposium. It's so great, and I feel like I'm at home and I'm motivated with all the presenters. I think I have a very short presentation on this last presentation from Malungo. I agree with everyone, and I think what I think is that reaching one's exponential growth should be understood with not just a single life aspect. it should be understood with a wider life aspects or the angles of life aspects. We should not just be biased to the national calamities. There are a number of challenges that we need to overcome. Some are not natural, but I think the base here is reaching our exponential growth. Now, I will also repeat what I've written on the chart to say reaching exponential growth, it can be delayed because of different aspects, different challenges that we face in life. But that should not refuse us from reaching the exponential growth we want to be. So Malungo mentioned about focus. We need to focus. I agree very much with that one. I think there's also another aspect that I would like to share here is about abilities we have to overcome the challenge. For example, I remember I started applying to join AIU about 4 years ago. Somehow, I was feeling like I cannot do. I had a challenge, financial challenge myself. But I know at that particular time, there are also some people who had the same financial challenge, but they have joined it earlier than myself. But now I'm looking at this point of to say that the capability to come out of a challenge. Some people can be faster to come out of a challenge, while some can be delayed, can take longer to come out of a challenge. But when we focus on our goals, and then we can overcome all the challenges. So I just wanted to add on that one. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doc. It was just a short presentation.
Thanks.
Perfect. So Malungo, do you have a response to that?
Yes, I would like just to comment what our friends say, that it's very important to consider the focus on the exponential growing, that you have to focus and you have to resist the perseverance. If we check in the history, we'll find that all great men who held great things in their life, they have the perseverance. They did do one thing, they found the obstacle, then they crossed the end, that they resist. That for me, I think that the resistance, the perseverance is very important. Although the environment can influence, but we have to look a way to reach our objective, because it's our objective. It's our objective. It's a personal. That if we are here, it's not going well, that we can cross other side to do that. That if we determine it to grow up in one aspect of our life, it's our first responsibility. Other people can help us, but it's our first responsibility. That we saw many people who leave the situation very difficult, but they manage to become great men. That I think that it's a responsibility. I don't ignore the fact that the environment can influence something, can be an obstacle, but we have to look the way to resist, to focus on our objective till that we reach it, because it's our objective. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go ahead and continue on with another comment or question. Anybody else have another comment or question?
Maybe I will say this.
Okay.
You know, to resist, to go ahead, I will consist saying it depends on the environment where you are. Like, I'll give you through an example. If you are an investor and you are in Ukraine or you are in Russia, are you able to do your business there today? If you are a student, you are in Ukraine and you are from outside or in Russia, are you able to stay there? So for your personal development, you have to move from that place. Like we have a political situation, as people were talking about accreditation, and the other countries, they have no problem about that. So in your country, there is that problem of avoiding you to grow. And in another place, you are able to be accepted. So leave Rwanda and go to another place and stay there. On that manner of moving out, you will grow. But if you consist in the same place where the environment can't give you favor to grow, you die without growing.
All right.
Excuse me, I agree with Mr. Bernardo. May I make a question for you, Mr. Malungo Germano?
Yes.
Oh, my name is Eduardo Viana. I am from Brazil. Brazil and Angola share a very big friendship, and I really appreciate your very inspirational and very motivational presentation. Congratulations, my friend. You have been learning a lot around the world, from Canada, from French, and I really appreciate to know you have already visited my country, Brazil. I was born in São Paulo state. Now I live in Minas Gerais state, but I was born in São Paulo state, and a lot of relatives of mine lives in São Paulo city. That's so big and important city. So I really appreciate. Congratulations for your history of life. You excelled very much, and you focused on your goal, and you are achieved that goal. Human rights are a very important subject, an actually important subject. Human rights, humanitarian law are very connected. And my question for you is, do you believe that what is happening right now in Ukraine and Russia, if it is a lack between the deep connection between human rights, humanitarian law, and international rights, international law, do you understand we have some lack of connection, lack of well understanding in these three important areas: human rights, humanitarian law, and international rights? What do you think? Please let me know your thoughts about it. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yes, thanks. I think that's the problem that is a humanitarian law, but we have also the problem of diplomacy, that they should use a good diplomacy so that they avoid what is happening there. But the problem that is happening now is in international humanitarian law, which is I can say break, because I follow the information that they are killing civil people. And according to the international human rights law, that even in the conflict army or war, you cannot kill civils. That is the problem. I don't know if I'm clear in your question.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Thank you so much.
I just want to say that we're running a little bit over time on this presentation because the next presenter is not able to connect. So that we are running a little bit longer, which is fine because this is an interesting conversation that we're having. Okay, so who's next? EDC Sira, did you have?
Thank you very much. I think it's an interesting presentation. As a humanitarian, I myself, I work in child protection. Is it possible if you want to protect children, if the environment is not proper, are you going to leave? Are you going to stay and create the change? When the environment is hostile, in the situation of war, civil war,
yes,
as an humanitarian, are you going to leave as the environment is not appropriate, or are you going to stay and stabilize the situation?
For the protection, I think that this is clear in the Geneva Convention. When the situation is not good, you have to move to look for the place that you can live safe, the international protection. These things, I think that we are human beings. We know how things work. Even animal, when the Angola was in army conflict, we observed that even animals cross the border to look for the peace place to live. Why not a human being? If animal can leave the border, that can move from another places looking for the peace place, why not human beings? I think that this is a clear that the first solution is to look for to look for the refuge, to look a safe place that we have to live. This is the first things that someone have to do when you are in an environment where there is a conflict, army or war.
And what will you do for Ukrainian, for child Ukrainian, for instance?
For child
Are you going to let them like that?
That the first things is maybe to cover the basic need, the present need. I cannot bring a child out if he's angry. If there is something, I have to give him. And the second, to look a way to move him from a safe place. That's what that we can do.
You know, I will say where I live across the street, there's an elementary school for children. We are now receiving children from Ukraine into the school to protect them and give them a refuge. So there are ways to do that.
How to do that? I think that the first things that we have to do, I can take example, one of my teacher told to us about something that I did in Angola, when Angola was in conflict army. My teacher was is from Switzerland. In that time, he was working with the cross, Red Cross, that to save people, to give the humanitarian assistance to the population who were suffering during the war, they tried to collaborate with the rebels, so that the rebels opened the door, so that they try to give assistance to the population. The rebel didn't accept. It was Mr. Savimbi, who is a big rebel here in Angola. He didn't accept. They used the diplomacy, humanitarian diplomacy. What they did, they looked for other presidents, African, who were collaborating well to him. They asked him that advise your friend so that he opened door so that we be able to give assistance. He didn't accept. They called his teacher in Lausanne, in Switzerland. He was a very good friend of his teacher, that they asked him that they try to be in communication with your student, that what he's doing is not what you taught him in humanitarian law, that he have to open doors so that he give the assistance. Then he accepted to do that. They sent a Red Cross staff to go there to give assistance to the population. That I think the diplomacy is very important in this case, because you cannot go there to save those children. You cannot be also killed. That you need to negotiate so that temporarily that to stop the confrontation, so that to be able to give you assistance.
Thank you.
Neto Daisane Sale, do you have something you want to say? There you
Yes,
go. We can hear you.
good evening. Here in Mozambique is night now. I'm speaking Portuguese, but my English is not strong. Maybe you understand what I want to know. Mr. Malunga, I'm very happy what he said now, and is a experience for me too. But what I want to know, example here in Mozambique, we have a problem in Cabo Delgado province. What I can do to that children or education there to make a growth, exponential growth? It is a question what I have. Thank you.
And I didn't well catch your question that you are talking about the children in Mozambique. I don't know what's happened, and if you can be a little bit clear in your question.
Yes, I was told that Mozambique, we have problem on terrorism in Cabo Delgado, north of Mozambique. And I want to know if like exponential growth, the children there, what we can do to help them. Thank you.
Yes, to help them, I think that is the same what I said before. There is a humanitarian NGOs who can do something for those children. But when there is confrontation, I think the situation is a little bit different. That the negotiation using diplomatic way so that they allowed you to reach those children and give assistance, I think it's the best way. Because we have all this will to help people, but you cannot go where they are killing people so that you help people. This is impossible. That's why that we use the diplomacy negotiation to see how things can be resolved in this way so that we have the possibility to give our assistance.
Thank you,
If
Mr.
I'm
Malunga.
clear. Yes.
We have
yes, I'm understanding, Mr. Malunga.
There's a question from Jean-Paul. Can we have the name of these NGOs?
What NGO?
There's a question. Can we have the name of these NGOs? So do you have names of NGOs that you're talking about? It's just a question coming from chat.
From chat?
Yeah, okay. This is Jean-Paul Quatizo. I am talking from Cameroon.
Go ahead, Jean-Paul.
Yeah, he tried to answer the question that NATO asked. And then he mentioned that there are NGOs that can take care of those children. So it should be better that he should mention the name of the NGO so that if we have some cases, even here in Cameroon, children are really suffering violence. But I have video even in my phone. I'm very shocked. I don't know which action I can carry in order to stop this violence that children are facing in Cameroon. So if we have the names of some of these NGOs, it's better to give them so that we can use them to save them. Thank you.
Hello.
So did you mention some NGOs? Malungo?
If I mention some NGOs?
Yes.
No, the NGOs that I mentioned when I talk about the case in Angola, it was Red Cross. Red Cross is the one who give a solution for people who are suffering, and they negotiated with the rebel. They didn't find a solution, and they called his teacher in Lausanne, the chief, he was a former teacher, to try to advise him. The first action that they did, they collaborate with the some African presidents who were in that time friend of that rebel, but they didn't convince him, and they went to Lausanne, where the rebel studied, and they found his teacher. They said to him that this man, what he's doing is not what you're teaching in humanitarian law. Try to call him. As they were good friends, he managed to convince him to open the door so that the Red Cross get in that city and give the assistance to the population. It's a Red Cross. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrongly, but in French is Croix Rouge. That's what I need. Rouge Vermelho in Portuguese.
Let's go to the next question from Emmanuel's Galaxy.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Edward. Now, thank you for the presentations. Now, I was really excited when I was given a comparison of the American population 100 years ago and now 2022, and the Nigerian population and now and then 100 years ago. There's an exponential growth in population. And he emphasized, our presenter emphasized that exponential growth should be a mathematical thing. We should see some graphs showing that, okay, this should have been the growth rate, but now this is the exponential growth in finance, in intellectual ability, in spiritual ability, in personal health, in those sort of all growths. But now we are lumping everything together, and there's no graphical denotation where we can say these are the indicators of growth, of exponential growth that we are achieving. We are just saying now we managed to get from a diploma to a degree, from a degree to a master's, but that is it exponential or is it the normal growth that people take? How can we identify that we are having exponential growth, not the normal growth that we have? One thing, that is what I'm trying to say. And then this topic of personal exponential growth. The growth in a person is a complex thing. A person can grow intellectually. A person can grow financially. Physically. A person can grow spiritually. A person can grow physically. Now, we are not knowing. Are we talking about only academic growth? Nothing else? No financial growth, no spiritual growth, no other growth. And then we are not having any markers of the growth. We don't have any markers that we can refer to that this is what I achieved, which is above the normal achievement. That sort of thing is what I'm expecting. Yes, Dr. Lambert.
On the screen, I'm putting a picture of a mountain in Hawaii, Mauna Loa. And as you can see, as you climb up the mountain, it's an exponential path to the top.
Yes.
So this is the idea of exponential growth. It's like climbing a mountain, that it really gets steeper as you go up the mountain.
Yes. And this is what we should be seeing in the presentation.
So let's go on. Malungo, would you like to respond?
Yes, my response is that when we talk about the exponential growth, that this can be in all aspects of life, that you can decide to grow exponentially in financial aspect, physical aspect, intellectual aspect, professional career. It depends on you. That exponential growth is for anything. Even a country can decide to go exponentially in certain aspects of life. It's for everybody or for any institution. Even a company can also decide to grow exponentially, to produce more, to reach a great level. That's It's not something which is related to one aspect. Any aspect, this growth can be manifested.
But we should see some graph like Dr. Lambert has shown us. There should be some graph to show us that this is the normal growth and this is the exponential growth. Not that sort of thing, but not just lumping that there is growth, financial growth or intellectual growth. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Yes, I say that we can grow in any aspect of life. I share my experience. I grow as a human rights professional. But there are also other people who can share their experience on the growing, maybe financially, or in the career professional, or in the health. I'm always sick, I decide to grow. For instance, I'm always sick. Then in certain moment, I decide to grow exponentially physically to have a good health. This is also a case. In any case that we can grow exponentially. And this is what I understood through the many interventions that I participate in the symposium and other books that I read.
Dr. Lambert, you know, I'm a medical doctor, and when children come to our clinic, MCH, we have a chart of the normal growth of children, and then those who are undernourished, and then those who are overnourished. So we always want to use some sort of method, indicators that are telling us, okay, this is high, this is normal, and this is low. This is why I'm emphasizing, because I expected Malungo to show us in a graph how he has developed from that time up to where he is now in a graph, and then say this is an exponential growth. The normal growth should have been this. That is what I'm trying to say. In health, we have to have figures. We don't have to have only saying I'm healthy. No, you have to give data to show that you are healthy.
How many participants here are working on a thesis, doing research and doing a thesis? A lot of the students here are working on a thesis. And when you complete a thesis on that research, that is amazing exponential.
I'm just following, not yet for research, but I'm following.
Thank you.
So you can.
Dr. Lambert, this is very good conversation. I hearing the doctor now trying to find out the curving. So maybe we try to see because growth is more of vertical, horizontal growth.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think So I think, Doctor, you are right. So let us try to explain, because growth is not just one line.
A good way to measure exponential growth is with milestones. You set a goal, you reach that goal. You set another goal, you reach that goal. You set another goal, you reach that goal.
Exactly.
It's achieving your goals, and you know you're growing.
Lambert, and when you're achieving that goal, it should be above the normal rate of growth, so that you call it exponential. And there should be evidence to show that.
Exactly. When you complete a thesis, it's a huge project for a lot of students. They maybe have a sample size of 200 respondents in their questionnaire, and they're analyzing the data. And then their can then be used for public health or education, for the government. That's exponential growth. When they increase their knowledge and then their knowledge becomes applied in their society, that's exponential growth. It's just one step in all of the growth that needs to happen. Aubrey?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Dr. Lambert.
Go ahead.
Can I continue? Okay, yeah. Yes, it's interesting to listen to the arguments, but I also want to understand exponential growth that we are talking about here, that the presenters were presenting their only growth. So that's why it was personal growth. So I don't think they have anyone to compare themselves to other than telling us their achievements. So for me, I understand their growth from whatever they have presented, like from one level to another, and then they move on to another level. I think that is a milestone in anyone who is doing something, because without taking a step, without being focused, without having a purpose, these people wouldn't have achieved what they have just shared. So yeah, I understand also the concerns of Dr. Emmanuel, but still, I think in research, we present work quantitatively as well as qualitatively. So if the presenters are presenting in a qualitative way, they are going to give us, you know, their feelings, what happened, and all those stories we are going to hear about them. And so we are able to measure the exponential growth. The other thing that I wanted to react on, or maybe to contribute, was the first issue about the NGOs. In someone was asking to say what NGOs should we go to. I think that depends on which country you are in, because the NGOs, some are international, like they're found everywhere. Others may just be found in a few countries. But I think the presenter Malungo talked about Red Cross. I think Red Cross is almost all over the world. But again, there could be other NGOs in your country that you can approach to make sure that some children that are struggling with attaining their exponential growth could be helped. That's what I wanted to contribute. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Malungo, do you want to respond to anything?
No.
Well, I think with that, we're going to move on to the next presenter. So thank you so much for an extended, long conversation at the end of your presentation. Very interesting. And thank you, everybody, for your participation and your comments. And remember that we're recording these presentations, so they're going to be available on YouTube later on the AIU channel in YouTube. Thank you so much, Malungo Germano.
Yes, thanks.